When you are insecure with your food, when you're insecure with your body, you are insecure in everything, because it puts a lens on almost every memory that you have. For a lot of women, they'll say, oh, I went to this party, but the whole time I was feeling insecure in my body and I wasn't as open and as vocal as I wanted to be because...
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to the Holo Hlth Podcast, where we help you become truly healthy by sifting through the cultural noise that health is merely physical and equip you to become the healthiest version of yourself. If this is your first time on the podcast, I'd love to introduce myself. My name is Alex and I am the host of the Holo Hlth Podcast. I would really encourage you to go to holohlth.com and subscribe to our email list, where you will get content like this, whether it's podcast, articles, newsletter, videos, or more, to equip you on becoming the healthiest version of yourself. This is the last installment with my conversation with Keep Your Plants On one and only Lindsay Tobias, where we start to look at what she personally does in the other areas of health as far as mentally, emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. She gives us some great nuggets to take away that are practical, chewable, edible, and tangible that you can start today. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Lindsay Tobias. Lindsay, we are back for our final installment of this conversation today. Lindsay, thank you so much for deciding to jump back on here with us. Before we dive back into it, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm super pumped and I'm super excited to continue this conversation. If you have not checked out our previous conversations, Lindsay, what is one thing that you would tell them, or one reason why they need to go listen to the previous conversations?
Oh gosh. I would say you need to listen to previous conversations. If you've ever wondered how to stop dieting or how to stop these toxic cycles of this obsession with food, or this obsession with your weight, or this inability to get to your goals, or the role that food should have in your health, then please go listen to that.
Ooh, that was good. That was a good little shameless plug. I like that. So Lindsay, the essence of not just this conversation, but really kind of like the mission of what both of us are passionate about is that health is so much more than physical. And in this specific conversation, like these three conversations, we're really honing in on how nutrition goes so much deeper than just our physical element. But we really talked about those in the first two episodes, but this one we're going to kind of take a little bit of a pivot and talk about how these affect the other areas of our life and how we stay healthy in other areas of our life, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, relationally, spiritually, like those different areas, because we are so much more than physical beings. Mm-hmm. So Lindsay, as we kind of like get into this conversation a bit, what would you say about people's poor nutrition habits and how they negatively impact those other areas that we just talked about?
I think this comes with varying degrees for different people. If you listen to the last episode, you know that I'm extremely purposed in understanding personalized nutrition, because what works for you is not necessarily going to work for me for a myriad of reasons. But there are a lot of clients that I do have that when we first have this conversation, one of the first questions I'll ask is, what percentage of your day, or how many, sometimes I'll even skip over minutes. I'll go straight to hours, because honestly, that's a little bit more tangible and accurate, unfortunately. But how many hours each day would you say are spent thinking about your food, your health, or your body image? And unfortunately, most of my clients starting off, and again, the way that I message I put together my message will indicate who is coming to me in the first place. So I'm not saying this is indicative of every human on the planet, but I'm saying for the majority of women, a lot of my clients will say upwards of 70 or 80% of their day, or 8 to 10 hours of their day, thinking solely, not just in the back of their head, but like thinking and fixating on their health, their body image, and their food. That is traumatic, and that is tragic. And the reason being is because our brain is the most dynamic, the most creative, and the most individualized and unique part of us. And when we use our most precious asset, our brain and our mental capacity, only towards our health and our food, in the name of a healthy lifestyle, we're missing the mark. And that's what I really like to kind of start off with. And when you say, how do your poor nutrition habits impact other areas of your life? When you are insecure with your food, when you're insecure with your body, you're insecure in everything, because it puts a lens on almost every memory that you have. For a lot of women, they'll say, oh, I went to this party, but the whole time I was feeling insecure in my body, and I wasn't as open and as vocal as I wanted to be because I was insecure with my body, or I wasn't sure how to handle myself around food, or I wasn't sure, whatever it looks like for them. Too often, our poor relationship with our health taints every experience that we're meant to have. And I think that that's a real tragedy, honestly.
So let's take a step back and let's look at some of these other areas that ultimately, not just our nutrition, not just our eating habits, and not just our brain, but these other areas that are impacted by everything that we do. So let's look at, we can look a little bit more into the physical route as far as even our sleeping habits, but also our movement and our energy and our exercise habits, but then also our mental capacities and our emotions and our relationships and even the spiritual bucket, if you want to go into that. So before we kind of dig into those a little bit, personally, what do you kind of do in those buckets?
Oh, I love this question. I love this question because the question is not just what do you do, but it's also what am I doing right now? And I think that that's a really important differentiation, because I'm a different person than I was 2 years ago. And I know that you're going to be a different person in 3 years with different needs and a different capacity. So this answer, why I'm saying that is because this answer would have been different if you asked me a little bit ago. And I think being able to adapt to what you need and being willing to change when those needs actually do change is one of the most potent things that we have when it comes to our health. If we're able to adapt, sustainability is going to come pretty easy. But if we say, oh, I have a smoothie in the morning and that means that I'm healthy. And then when you stop craving a smoothie, you're like, okay, well then I can't be healthy anymore. You're not allowing yourself to adapt or to grow or to change. So the longest intro ever, but to answer your question, movement, constant, consistent movement is really big for me. I know that I think better. I communicate better. I am able to be more creative when I'm more active. And for me, I actually, about 2 years ago, so I take all of my client calls, like my check-ins are all via phone call. So I'll have 6 or 7 calls a day. So about 2 years ago, I was like, I don't want to be sitting at my desk answering these phone calls all day. So I made a goal, every single phone call, I'm going to be walking. And as a result, I'm able to walk a good bit every single day without even trying. And finding ways to exercise that you enjoy or to move consistently throughout your day, not just that little 30-minute stint of exercise, which is absolutely beneficial, but 30 minutes of exercise followed by a fully sedentary day is not allowing you to reap the benefits of that exercise in the first place. So I think one of the things that I do to stay healthy, and you can see this mimicked in the blue zones. Blue zones are the 5 areas of the world that live the longest. And National Geographic has researched them for about 15 years as to why. And one of the things is they move naturally. Every part of their day allows for activity. And they don't, every single one of the 5 blue zones, they don't have an exercise protocol that they are adhering to. They don't do CrossFit. They're not yoga. They're not bar. They're not whatever it is. They're full of movement throughout their day. So I think that was a big shift for me. Like, that doesn't mean cut out your exercise. And going back to last episode where I talked about that pillar, if your goal is performance, yeah, you better keep that high intensity large load progressive exercise in your day, or you're not going to get where you want to go. If your goal is aesthetics, you might need to keep whatever exercise you're doing in a capacity that stretches you. But if your goal is longevity and natural weight loss and feeling a little bit more optimally happy, add in just some more movement throughout the day. More movement contributes to all three goals, but there might need to be an addition for performance and aesthetics. And then sleep. I'm really intentional about my sleep schedule. I get really cranky, and honestly, I'm very nervous about having children because I do not know how I will function without sleep. I'm really struggling through that. Actually, we just got a puppy, and when I would wake up 2 or 3 times in the middle of the night to go down 3 flights of stairs to let him out, I was like, am I cut out for this? Sleep is wildly important. When we do not sleep, we do not recover. All of the amazing things that are happening in our life, they show up in our body as stressors. Planning a wedding, even though it's a good thing, it's a stressor. Exercise, even though it's positive, is a stressor. The things that we're excited about. There are so many stressors in our day, and when we do not sleep, we do not recover, and then we do not have the capacity to be the version of ourselves that we wanted to be. Also, our hormones will start to scramble, and we have a lot more cravings throughout the day. Sleep is fundamental, foundational to our health.
So sleep, movement, and then sustainably nourishing your body, those are really the foundational pillars when it comes to our physiology. And what I loved about what you said, back to the movement part, is you didn't say exercise. You said movement, because we're not just designed to move, but our culture is so sedentary that it's basically plucked away any physical activity from our day-to-day, that when we just introduce a little bit of movement, there is so many benefits that come from it. A recent research article just came out that said if you do 30 minutes of moderate activity with a high heart rate, it's an equivalent to a low daily dose of an antidepressant. Just movement. Just get your heart rate up a little bit. Just power walking for 30 minutes. I'm like, that is just one scientific finding that we are so much more than physical beings, because what we do from our physiology affects our psychology, that affects our spirituality, that affects our relationships, that keeps going and going and going.
Yes.
Lindsay?
Alex, I have a question for you.
Oh, wow. I've never...
I know. No one ever asks the person who's asking the question. What are some things that you do to stay healthy?
What are some things that I do to stay healthy? Well, I have actually found that for me, there are 7 kind of like pillars or habits that I have kind of coined, like the 7 habits of health, that I have found not just physically, but in those other buckets really have not helped me just get an edge on nutrition or performance, but really just a holistic health, optimal living lifestyle. So it's funny that you said sleep, nutrition, and movement, because they are sleep well, eat clean, move often. And then the 4th one is increasing clarity. For my emotional and mental state, I really need to rely on the art of self-awareness, because if I don't know what's going on inside and I'm not aware of what messages I'm allowing into my brain, then I am never going to progress down a healthy trajectory. So self-awareness, that internal clarity. Another one is decreasing stress, because just with the low grade of anxiety that is tormenting our culture, we can't be the healthiest versions of ourselves with this background buzz of anxiety. So I decrease stress through a number of different ways, whether it's taking a weekly Sabbath or taking walks or literally parenting my phone, where instead of picking up my phone the first thing I do when I wake up and viewing Instagram while I'm going to sleep, I have to parent my phone and, okay, I'm going to read first and have a breakfast first and go on a walk first and work out first, and then I'll check my phone and take an email off my phone. So a lot of different things to decrease stress. The 6th one is cultivate community by just surrounding myself with like-minded, same valued people that are going to help me really go further faster. And then the last one that I say is embrace purpose, where just satisfying that inner void where we want to connect to something bigger and better. This isn't a religious thing, but we all are built to connect to something bigger and better than ourselves. And I try to do that as much as I can. So I really appreciate you asking the podcast host a question, because that's never happened before.
That's so sad, because you actually have so much to say and so much to add.
Well, I appreciate that. And speaking of so much to say and so much to add, Lindsay, there's been a thread among all of your answers that I really have wanted to uncover a little bit, and I want to hear your thoughts. And it's underlined in the word sustainability. We have not really hit on that yet. And I want to hear why you keep saying the word sustainability. What is the positive, power behind sustainability? Why don't we want to just focus on something easy or tangible? Like, why do you keep saying sustainable? Like, what's the power behind that?
Sustainability is essentially your success with your health. It is what creating your own health looks like. It's being able to enjoy what you're doing and to not feel like you are swayed by what everyone else is doing. A really shocking statistic is, two shocking statistics. I love statistics, and I know you do too, so I don't feel uncomfortable sharing these, but adolescent dieters. So what percentage of adolescent dieters would you say would end up not just overweight, but obese as adults? And these, by the way, are people that are dieting because they want to be healthy. They want to be skinny. What percentage? It's what is their likelihood? Sorry. What is their likelihood of becoming obese as adults?
I'm going to say 70%.
Okay. So adolescent dieters have a 324% higher likelihood of being obese as adults than their non-dieting counterparts.
I was close.
You were very close. And it's because we create this cycle of restriction, binging, this overwhelming emphasis on food and attaching our whole value to what diet we're on right now. And then we fall off, and while their non-dieting friends are going to, on average, gain about 1 to 2 pounds a year, these people who are dieting are going to lose 10 pounds, gain 20, lose 5 pounds, gain 10, lose 5 pounds, gain 10. Like, these differences are stark, and we ruin our metabolism and we ruin our mental space for what? And people are doing it with the best of intentions, and I hope that I sound empathetic in the way that I'm speaking, because they are not doing this out of malicious intent. They're doing this because they have a true desire to be thinner, to be smaller, to be whatever it is. But in this desire to be smaller, we shrink ourselves. We make ourselves smaller, the thing that is inside of us smaller. What was the question?
We just were talking about the power behind sustainability, and you were just talking about how diets are not sustainable.
Last statistic for you. What percentage of people after 1 year of dieting, I actually just posted a blog post about this, about how before and after photos really frustrate me, to be completely honest. And there's no way around them. Like, when someone finishes my program, sometimes I'll post a before and after photo as well. I feel in most cases, they don't tell the whole story, but they're claiming to. Because after 1 year of dieting, so if someone starts a diet, studies show that after 1 year, 97% of people who did that diet will either gain it all back or exceed the initial weight. And that's so frustrating. And the reason is because there's no sustainability. There was no reason for why they were doing what they were doing. And at some point when they were done following this checklist, they go back to who they are. Not what they were doing anymore, but who they are. And you know that this is something that I'm really big on. There's a difference between becoming someone and doing something. And when you can become someone who is healthy, these are now your core values. This is now something that matters to you. You've now found what balance looks like, what optimal health looks like. And you don't have to find the next thing to do, because you're happy with who you are.
So Lindsay, sustainability is optimal and ideal, but what is maybe a non-nutritious thing? Maybe it's not diets, but something else. What is one thing that the majority of people do that is a detriment to their overall health?
I'm going to say this is a broad statement, and I understand that. I think this decreased desire to be malleable is a detriment to your health. It's a detriment to growth in any area, actually. I just finished a book by Joe Dispenza, who is a neuroscientist, and he was talking about this idea of novelty. And novelty, so he was giving a theory, and one of his theories was that there's the right brain, left brain, where it's like this side is mathematics, this side is art and creativity, is not actually real. One side is for routine, mundane activities that you don't really have to rewire new neurological pathways. And this side is for novelty, is the way he says it. Like the creative side was for novelty. And the reason they thought it was the creative side is because they would put people who didn't know how to read music into a room where they had to read music, and it was new. It was novel to them. So their brain was firing in a different way, and it was starting to fire new neural pathways. All that to say, think about your day right now. Well, okay, we're in quarantine, so it's a little bit different than normal. But for the average person, when you're growing up, you are constantly learning and constantly growing and constantly forced to try things because people around you are like, you don't know what you like. Try this, try that, try this. And then we get to an age where we almost solidify who we are, what we're willing to do and what we're not willing to try. And in so doing, we stunt growth. We stunt creativity. We stunt our ability to change because we tell ourselves that we are fixed. And so the average person, they wake up, they start on the same side of their mouth when they brush their teeth. They have the same breakfast. They go to the same job where they do the same thing. They come home, they watch TV, they go to bed, they do it again. There's not a lot of novelty there. So when we stop allowing novelty into our lives, we stop growing, and your health is no different. So one thing that I would say is a detriment to our health is not allowing yourself to grow. Is when clients will say to me, I'm not a cook. Like, I've never been a good cook. I'm like, all right, well, how long do you think you have left on this earth? You want to maintain that idea for the rest of your life, or do you want to maybe try? Or I'm just not someone who does this, or I'm not someone who does that. I'm not asking you to uproot your life, but in order to see a change in your body composition, in order to see a change in your health, in order to see a change in your emotional health, something has to change. And if you're not willing to change, you can't expect a change to happen out of the blue.
Lindsay, this last question is probably the one I'm most excited to hear your response to. Why are you passionate about this?
I'm going to try my best to answer this in a very concise manner, which might be hard for you to believe at this point. But I care about this because for me, I walked through it. And I tell my clients this, I have the capacity to empathize with you because I walked in these same shoes. I had to figure this all out. I had a really poor relationship with food, a very poor relationship with my body. When I first learned about nutrition, I actually used it to manipulate my body and to contort my body into a size that made my periods stop. It made literally my hair fall out. I was miserable. My husband now, he hated the mentality that I had at that time because I was irritable, I was moody, I was unable to be the person that I was created to be. And looking back now, all I want to do is to be able to shelter and protect people from that and to show them that is not health and that there's so much more that we are called to do than to contort into a size. And something that I preach now is that the pursuit of your healthy life will lead to your best weight. That's sustainability. If you are balancing your hormones and healing your gut and you are eating foods that benefit your body in normal amounts, your body's not going to keep on excessive amounts of weight. It's just not. But the pursuit of only a weight will not always lead to your healthiest life. And I think that's really important to understand the difference there. So to answer your question, I care about this because I had to go through it myself. And again, that's why I went back to school to get that holistic word, because I was like, I don't want to just talk about nutrition. I want to talk about more than just nutrition. I want to talk about what it is we're filling ourselves with in all areas. And as a result, I'm able to connect with my clients in a way that I know that a lot of other dietitians or nutritionists or coaches may not be able to. And I'm actually very thankful for that. I think that when you go through something, it honestly becomes your responsibility to then give growth to other people as well.
Well, Lindsay, despite some of the pain and discomfort and trials you really had to go through in a previous season of your life, I know I am better because of you. And I know that other people are better because of you, because not just what you went through, but your response because of it, and how you have chosen to overcome this in the way that you are, by helping others, by serving a bigger purpose, by really embracing this purpose to be like, hey, I want to help you be the healthiest version of you. And this is the way that you're doing it. So Lindsay, this has been extraordinary. I know you are continuing to just not only influence, but impact people for the better. So all in all, to say thank you. Last quick 30 seconds as we are closing. Where can they find you on the www? Do you have an Instagram, your website, program? Tell us all about we can find you on the net.
On the interwebs, I am howtokeepyourplantson.com. I am also at keepyourplantson, and you can find me on my podcast at Keep Your Plants On the Podcast.
Even though I was a hater from the start, I will say I am team Keep Your Plants On 110% now. So
I'm a hater of the name, not just a hater of me.
I was a hater of the name. I was never a hater of Lindsay. We're great friends. We're best friends. Just to clarify. No, that's funny. Lindsay, thank you so much for this. I am better because of you. I do mean that, and I appreciate your time, Lindsay. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. See ya.
Thank you.
Again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Holo Hlth Podcast, where we help you become truly healthy. If you could, go to Holo Hlth on Instagram, Facebook, like us, follow us, and go to holohealth.com. Subscribe to our email list, because we would love to partner with you as you start on your quest to become the healthiest version of yourself. We will provide everything for free, no spam, no ads, all for free. So go to holohealth.com, at Holo Hlth on Instagram and Facebook, and we will see you there. Thanks, guys.